Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. I'm guest designing for Pink & Main using their July 2019 Crafty Courtyard Kit. The theme is Pen Pals. This is a monthly kit, so quantities are always limited. It's so fun that Pink & Main's card kits include a full 6x6 paper pad. I love the colors and the whole theme of this kit. So let's go ahead and get started with card number 1. For most of my cards, I will be using a variety of card sketches, and I find these online from several different websites. I do not design the sketches, but I do figure out the measurements if they're not already provided. So for this first sketch, this is by Cards TV, and it does already include measurements, which is so nice. I do add another 1/8 of an inch generally for most of the pieces of the sketch for my matted layers. And since I do like to include a lot of layering on my cards, I will be using more cardstock than what's included in the kit. And this is just cardstock that I keep on hand. For this first card, the background paper is some of the pattern paper that has a whole bunch of sentiments in different colors. So I thought that was a lot of fun, especially because those sentiments match all of the stamp sentiments in the kit. I'm using one of the cut-aparts, and this is the largest size cut-apart in the paper pad. It's 2 by 4 inches, and it also matches one of the stamps on the set included. So I'm using this fun sentiment that has not a bill. I thought that was really sweet because nobody wants to receive a bill. Everybody would rather receive some happy mail instead. For that nice shiny strip you see in the background, this is just some of the rose gold washi tape that's included in the kit. It's really lovely, and it matches nicely with this orange color, kind of a peach color in the paper collection. So just little finishing touches, I'm adding some small stitched banners in the upper right hand corner, and I cut out 2 of them, one just a little bit shorter than the other. So I have that blue, same as the background, and then also this peach color. And I'm just going to put that peach one to the right just slightly, just to give it a little layered look. And then I pulled out the beautiful sequin mix that's included in the kit. Very soft colors, a little bit of pink, kind of a soft teal greenish color, and then there's a white. So I'm just going to use a variety of different colors, and I really like the style of the sequins in Pink & Main's kit. They're a little different than the traditional looking sequins, and they adhere really nicely with some small glue dots. There is my first card, and I did make 2 of the same card using this sketch. So now moving on to card number 2. This is Mojo Monday sketch number 519. And all of the newer Mojo Monday sketches do include measurements. I believe it starts with 501. From there on, she did start including measurements, which is so nice. Saves me all kinds of time. And I do provide links to all of the sketches used on my coordinating blog, and that link is in the description box. This is a really fun sketch, and it has sort of a different layout than some of the other sketches I've used before. So I have this gray polka dot paper that I'm putting in that upper right hand corner, and rather than just use this teal cardstock to layer it, I wanted to add just a thin strip of some shine. So I'm using the rose gold washi tape. So I was just trying to lay it out and put it down in a way that you would only see that it's about 1/8 of an inch showing versus I think the washi tape's about 1/2 an inch. So it was a little tricky trying to lay it out and get it in the right spot, but I think I got it nice and straight, and I love just that little pop of shine on the side. But then just to add a little bit more shine, I'm using some of the holographic specialty paper that's included in the kit. So you do receive a full sheet, and I just cut that real thin strip, little banner going across the middle of the card. So now I've gone ahead and stamped and colored out one of the little girl images. I used Copic markers and did just a very simple coloring. The kit does not include coordinating dies for the stamp set, but the images are still easy enough to do a quick fussy cut. So I'm just leaving a little border of the white paper all around. And I do find it easier to turn the paper versus moving your scissors a lot when fussy cutting. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up this little girl image using some thin foam squares. And I'm not going to use any of the foam squares on the lower portion of the image. Instead, I'll use some liquid adhesive because that part is going to be going right over those two strips on the middle of the card. So I'll just adhere her in place. And then for a sentiment, I cut out another one of the ovals and then the little scalloped oval die cuts using the sentiment A Little Note. I love the font on all of these sentiments. And then I'll just add some more of the thin foam squares for dimension, just on the lower portion where it's not going to be going over those extra layers. Then just a finishing touch, I'm going to use some of the rose gold glossy hearts. There's two different sizes, so I'm just kind of putting them where they are on the sketch in place of those stars. So there is my finished card, and again, I did make two using this sketch. Since the paper pad does have two of each design, I find it just as easy to make two of the same card. So now on to card number 3. This is Mojo Monday sketch number 474. And this is one of their older sketches, so I did include the measurements. And again, you can find all of that information on my coordinating blog post. The paper collection in the kit includes a full sheet of cut-aparts. So there's the one that is 2x4, and then all the rest are 2x2 in size. So I really wanted to take advantage of those cut-aparts because the images and the sentiments are just perfect. And of course, they all coordinate with the rest of the paper collection. So when I was selecting a sketch, I was looking for one that would fit that 2x2 cut-apart nicely. And since it's a little smaller than the size on the sketch, I decided to do a double matting with the cardstock. I also added a second stitched banner just for a little more layering. And now I'm using some of the gray twine that's included in the kit. So first I just put down a strip of this cardstock, and then I put an 1/8 of an inch piece of score tape, and now I'm wrapping that twine all around the card, just getting it on that lower portion of that strip of cardstock. And then I'll adhere the back side using some more score tape. And then I'm going to just tie a bow, and I did lay out that piece, that shorter piece for the bow, before I wrapped the rest of the twine around. That way it's already attached and it's not going to come off. So I'll just add some adhesive to the back and put that on the matted cardstock. Then I'll put that whole piece onto a card base. Then I'm going to fuss a little more with the bow because I'm never happy with how my bows turn out. Sometimes I'll end up using a little bit of glue just to hold it in place. I pulled out some more of the glossy hearts, and I'm putting 3 of them in that upper right hand corner, trying to keep them nice and even, kind of in between the design on that pattern paper. And then I used the little heart die that's included in the kit, cut it out with some pink cardstock. I'm just going to pop it up, and there's a little envelope that's like right in that corner where it has sending paper hugs, and I decided to cover that up and just put the little heart there instead. And then I added some of the sparkling glitter glue right over the heart. So again, I did make 2 cards using this sketch. Now moving on to card number 4. This is MFT sketch number 435. This is a nice simple sketch, and it works perfectly with small images. You could even put a small sentiment in one of those circles, but I decided to add the sentiment just in that lower right hand corner. And I did use my corner chomper just to round the 4 corners on that orange polka dot pattern paper. And I'm just going to layer that on some dark gray cardstock. I thought about rounding the corner on that cardstock as well, but I kind of liked the look of it being just straight instead. So I have quite a few layers. I have some white pearlescent paper in the background, and then some more of this turquoise paper for the main layering. And then I stamped a few images. There's this sweet little puppy that's holding an envelope, and then also just a couple of tiny envelopes. So again, I colored those beforehand, and I'm just going to do a quick fussy cut, leaving just that thin white border around the dog. But for the envelopes, I did very simple coloring and I actually went out of the lines, but that's okay because I'm just cutting it directly on the stamped edges since it's a small little rectangle, very easy to cut out. And now I'm just using some liquid adhesive to adhere all of those images onto those small circles. And I did use some more of the white pearlescent paper for those circle die cuts. So I'll go ahead and lay all 3 of those circles on my card, trying to get them nice and even. And I decided I'm going to pop them up using some foam dimensional tape. And I'm going to put the one in the middle first. So after I have the other 2, what look like they're fairly even, I'll put the middle one in and then I'll place the 2 on the outside. I find it a little easier to get the spacing evenly. So now for a couple of finishing touches, I'm going to put a small banner in that left-hand corner. And just since there's so many layers, I'm just putting a little extra piece of cardstock on the top of that banner. And then I used one of the glossy hearts right above the sentiment. So there are my 2 finished cards. So next up is card number 5. I'm using OWH sketch number 192. And all of OWH's sketches do include measurements, so that's really handy. The background paper is some more of the white pearlescent paper, and this is a fun sketch because you can combine several different pattern papers. As long as you're not using a whole bunch of busy designs, it works well together. It also helps to add matted cardstock layers to sort of break up that busyness. The large rectangle on this sketch is perfect for putting an image, but I'm going to use some of the pattern paper instead. I love this design with the row of the envelopes and the little tiny hearts on there. I also used some more of the holographic paper for that wide strip that goes across the card. I love this specialty paper, and just adding a thin strip is usually enough, and that way you have plenty left over for future cards. So again, I cut out an oval die cut and then the matted layer. I used the sentiment sending paper hugs. Thought that was super sweet, especially with all of those little envelopes. And I pulled out some more of the sequin mix. I'm going to use a variety of colors and sizes this time. Again, just adhering at least the larger ones with the small glue dots. For the really tiny ones, my glue dots were too big. I know there is a smaller size glue dot, so I think I'm going to need to order those. So for those other ones, I did use some multimedia matte. So there is my finished card, and once again, I did make 2 using this sketch. And you can really see that holographic paper with the different lighting on it. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's green, sometimes it's silver. It's so fun. So next up is card number 6, and I'm using reverse confetti sketch number 21. I decided I'm going to use some more of the cut-aparts. So I looked for a sketch that would fit those 2x2 cut-aparts nicely. The background paper is this really fun plaid paper with kind of wider strips. And then that main paper in the center is some of the cardstock that's included in the kit that's pre-embossed with all these little tiny polka dots. Then I'm adding some more pattern paper. It's an orange and it has really light pink hearts. Kind of hard to see. And again, I'm going to do a double matted layer on this cut apart. And this is so fun. It has all of those little tiny hearts in the background and it has sending smiles. I think that thin layer of white cardstock really added some nice contrast to that cut apart. So I pulled out some more of that holographic paper. Again, just a really small piece, cutting just that small banner. And then I'm just adding a thin piece of cardstock just behind that top part of the holographic paper where it's going off of the edge of the other layers, just to keep it nice and even on the card. Then I'm using some more of the sequins, and I'm just choosing, I think it's just the white ones this time. Hard to tell in the video just because of my lights reflecting. But I'm just adhering those right below that cut apart. So there is my finished card, and again I did make 2 using this sketch. Now moving on to card number 7, and for this card I won't be using a card sketch at all. The background paper is some of the silver pearlescent paper that's included in the kit, and I'm just layering that with some of the pink cardstock. And then I used one of Pink and Main's tag dies, one of the larger sizes, and cut out this tag using some polka dot paper. Put some of this plaid paper as the little strip going across the background of the card just to kind of anchor that tag in place. Using some of the gray and white twine, just looped it, kind of did a double loop on the top of the hole. And then I want to pop all of that up using some foam dimensional tape. And since it is going over those two layers with the cardstock and the plaid paper, I'm using two different widths or thicknesses of foam tape. The thinner tape in the middle and then the thicker tape around the outside. So let's go ahead and adhere that basically in the center of the card. I'm leaving a little extra room on the top just for that twine to stick out. And then I used the die from the kit. So there's this mini envelope. Cut that out just using some white cardstock, and then just using a bone folder to crease all of those edges nicely. And then just to adhere the envelope together, I used some real thin score tape. And for this envelope, I'm going to have the flap actually open, but you could close it and use it as an envelope as well. So I adhered all of that right onto the tag using some ATG. And then I pulled out the cut apart that looks like a little notebook, and I'm stamping the sentiment on the inside. So it has handmade hello, and then I used the little open heart. I put two together on that cut apart and then also one on the envelope. And then just a finishing touch, I'm going to use some more of the sequins in the kit, and this time I'm using just the white. Although they do look kind of pink in the video, but they have an iridescent look to them, so just depending on how the light hits them. So I'm putting a few in the upper corner and then two in the lower corner. So again, I use glue dots on the larger two sizes and some liquid adhesive on the smaller. So there are the two cards I made using this design. So now moving on to card number 8, and again, no card sketch, and you're going to be shocked, but no pattern paper on this card at all. So I cut out the background using a stitched rectangle die, and then I'm adding some pink shimmer using some of Nuvo's Mica Mist. And this is the Turkish rose color. Then I used some pink cardstock and cut out that scalloped rectangle die cut. And now I'm adding score tape to the back side of that other rectangle piece with all of the shimmer spray, just because since it gets wet, it sort of warps the paper slightly. I want to make sure that it sits nice and flat on my card. So once I get that all adhered, I decided I'm going to pop that whole piece up using some foam dimensional tape. I just cut some large pieces and covered the whole back side, making sure I didn't have any spots that were going to sag. Now I'll adhere that onto my card base. Then I stamped and colored this sweet little girl. She's so excited. She got happy mail today. Isn't that how you feel when you get some happy mail? It just seems so seldom that we ever receive anything other than ads or junk or bills in the mail lately. So I love receiving a nice, cheerful card from somebody, and that's why I always try to send out cards every month to some friends and family. So now I cut out a little stitched banner, and I'm just layering that with some more of the pink cardstock, and I used the Sending Paper Hugs sentiment. I think that's my favorite on this whole stamp set. And just because I'm adhering that onto this paper with all that shimmer spray, I used a piece of score tape just to make sure it's going to stay in place. And then for the little girl, I'm using some liquid adhesive. And then just some finishing touches. I cut out a couple more of the little hearts, and this is the heart die that's included in the kit. I did 2 of them, so I adhered the first one using some liquid adhesive, and then I'm popping up the second using some of the thin foam squares. And then just adding 3 of the small, 3 different sizes of the pink sequins in the bottom left-hand side of the card. So there is my finished card, and definitely it's not my style. I usually have some kind of pattern paper on my card, but this is one of my favorite cards in the whole set. So do let me know which card is your favorite as well. All right, moving on to card number 9, bringing back some card sketches. This is Freshly Made Sketches number 308. So again, I'm looking for a sketch that I can use that 2 by 2 inch cut apart, and I thought this one would be perfect. I also wanted to include another element in this kit, and I thought this sketch would work nicely. So I have some more of this plaid paper for the background, using some polka dot paper for that smaller rectangular piece. I just had to include some more of that holographic paper, even though you only see the ends of it. I'm going to do a double matted cardstock layer with this cut apart. I like how it adds just that little extra contrast, and it really makes it pop. So with this thin strip that's on this sketch, changing that quite a bit because I wanted to use one of the little paper clips. So there's this little decorative envelope paper clip, super sweet, something I don't think I've ever really used on a card before. So I'm putting that on top of this pink cardstock banner, and then just to make sure that paper clip's not going to slip, I put a piece of score tape behind it, and then since it does have a lot of dimension, the little paper clip, I put some thin foam squares on the other 2 sides of that paper clip, like on the cardstock. And then I felt like it needed just a little something extra. So I cut 2 small strips of each of the twine colors and just tied a little knot. I tried a bow at first and I didn't like the look of it. So I just have a knot, and then I'm unraveling each of the strands. Then I add just a small glossy heart next to the sentiment. It does have a little heart already on that cut apart, but I thought the little glossy heart would add some more shine. And then just finishing off with some more of the sequins in the lower and upper corner of this card. And at first I just had the 3 sequins in that lower left-hand corner, and I thought I'd put a banner in that upper right-hand corner, but I didn't quite like the look of it, so I decided to just use some more sequins. These sequins really are pretty. So there are my 2 finished cards using this sketch. And now moving on to my final card. This is card number 10. I'm using Mojo Monday sketch number 518. I decided I would use up the rest of this embossed cardstock that's included in the kit. So I'm using that for the background, layering it all with some dark gray cardstock. And then I'm using sort of this chevron design, this gray design, for this larger rectangle piece of the sketch. And I still have some more of this turquoise polka dot paper, so I figured I would include that. That piece I did layer with some of the turquoise cardstock. I'll put my whole card front onto a card base. I'm using another one of the cut aparts. This one is in orange and it has a little note and this fun little envelope with the heart. Pulled out some more of the holographic paper for this banner that comes down from the cut apart. And I'll just add either some cardstock or some foam dimension on the bottom portion of this banner, just so it doesn't sag on the card. And then I'll do the same for this little cut apart, just adding that thin strip of cardstock just so that the left-hand side doesn't sag on the card. And then I pulled out some more of the glossy hearts, putting 3 of them in that upper right-hand corner. I think I struggled most trying to make sure these were straight and evenly spaced, but once I got them in place, I think they were good. And then just one final touch, I used some of the glitter glue and put it on that small heart on the envelope. So there are my finished cards. And again, I did make 2 using this sketch. So here's just a quick recap of the 20 cards I made using Pink & Main's July 2019 Crafty Courtyard Kit. This kit is so much fun. I love the colors. I love the theme. It's such a great reminder for all of us to send out those cards that we make. There's no point of collecting them. I love to donate cards, so some of these will be donated as well, and then others I'm going to be sending to friends and family. I have provided links to the kit as well as the products used in the description box below. This is a monthly kit, so as always, quantities are limited. If you are interested in purchasing the kit, I would suggest not waiting. Pink and Main does require a 3-month subscription commitment, but after that you can cancel at any time. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.